So for this demo, we're going to be looking at how we can, import information from a lead sheet and then put that into our Airtable automatically using automation. So that's what we're going to be looking at. I have two methods I'd like to go over. One, we're going to be using make.com. And the second one, there's actually a way we can do this using Airtable, but it does take a little bit of time because it has some latency in between for it to add into. So we're also going to be looking at that. So I'm just going to share my screen. Perfect. So here we're going to make an automation that takes CRM data from Google Sheets to Airtable. And for our resources here, I've created a file called bank. So this is just basically a file that has some names of people, imaginary people, your company names, and all the information for the lead list, just so it's easier for me to guess some company names during this demo. And then here I have gone ahead to create a base here on Airtable. And I've also added some columns. And here on Airtable, for us to be able to do this, it doesn't necessarily have to match because you can always map them differently through make. But for this, I do want them to match just so I don't get mixed up with stuff and everything is just seamless during this demo. And then we also have our empty lead list. And then we also have our make scenario. So we're going to start with make, and then after that, I'm going to show how it can also be done using Airtable directly, although that is a more slower pace because it takes time for it to update in the spreadsheet and vice versa. So for this make scenario, what we're going to be doing is we're going to pull the information from the lead list and we're going to put that information into our work table here at Airtable. So we're just going to start with that. So we're just going to do this. And the first module we want is Google Sheets because that's where we're getting our information from. So I'm going to choose Google Sheets. And what we want to do is we want to search rows here at Google Sheets. So here I've already connected my Google Sheets before, so it's still there. And for search method, we're just going to do select from my drive. For the spreadsheet ID, we're just going to do leads. And we're going to let that roll. For the sheet name, we have sheet 1. And then we have this table contains header. We want that to be yes. And then for column range, we have A, C, Z. And then we don't need to necessarily fill the other ones. You can fill in a limit if you'd like, but for this demo, we're not going to fill that. We're just going to leave it blank. I'm going to save that. And then we're going to add another module. What we want to add here is Airtable. Just going to search Airtable. And what we want to do here for Airtable is we want to create records, right? So we want to pull all this information from Google Sheets and we just want to push it all into Airtable. So we're just going to create records. So we're going to create the records for those information. And our base is going to be our automation base that we created previously. And our table is going to be the leads table. Okay, so now for records. So here we just have to map out exactly where we want this information to be coming from, right? So we have first name, and I'm just going to choose first name, which is a column we have from Google Sheets, last name, company name, email, email. Awesome. And then industry, choose industry. And then we're just going to save this as well. Save. And we're just going to run this. But first, before we run it, we have to have leads to be able to, push to our Airtable. So I'm just going to copy all these names I've pre-thought about. Yeah, we just have to paste them exactly how we want to see them. Awesome. So that is good. And we're just going to run the scenario. So I'm going to hit run. And there we go. The scenario has been run effectively. So when we come here to Airtable, we can see everything has been populated here as it should be. Yeah, so that's just what we're going to do. Okay, so for our second scenario, what we're going to do is I'm going to look here. And what I want us to do now is for us to be able to add, like, let's say we already imported this lead list into Airtable. And now we're actively using Airtable. And let's say we just got like 1 lead or like 3 leads, and we just want to put that into Airtable. But at the same time, we don't want to lose that information. So we also want that information to be stored in our lead list. So yeah, we're gonna also run a scenario for that. I'm just gonna delete these scenarios. Delete these scenarios. Cool. And here we want to start from Airtable. So we're just going to do Airtable. And here, what we're going to do instead is we're going to watch the records because we want to see when something new has been added to be able to add it to the other side. So we're going to watch that. And then our base is going to be automation, just like before. And our table is going to be leads. Awesome. So we have this thing, it's called a trigger field. So basically is what we're going to use to kind of determine that, oh, this is something that has been added new. And when that changes, we should create a new, table inside like our leads. So we're going to choose that as last modified. That was the reason I created this last modified field there in Airtable. And then for label field, I'm going to select name. And here you can set a limit to the maximum number of records to return. And I'm just going to put that as 45 because yeah, if we add a lot from Airtable, we want like them to be added. So we can always make this like 400, whatever, just make it a really big number depending on how the usage is going to be like. I'm going to save that. And when we're going to start is because in this scenario, we already have some like files already there previously. So I don't want to do that again because then we're going to just have duplicates. So I'm just going to do from now on. I'm going to save that. Then we're going to add another module that's going to be Google Sheets. And we're going to do, what we want to do is we want to add a row. So if a new row is added into this, we want to be able to add a row. So we're going to add a row. And search method would be search by path. And my drive, and then I'm just going to choose leads again as the sheet ID. So yes, it does contain headers. And now we want to do kind of what we did before. We want to be able to map like the areas of the lead sheet that we want to be updated, or we want to be updated based on the information that's being added on the other worksheet on Airtable. So I'm just going to do first name, last name is going to be last name, company name is going to be company name, email is going to be email, and industry it's going to be industry. Sweet. And we're just going to save that as well. And then we're just going to run this. Okay, I'm just going to first add something, right? So we're going to add, okay, I'm going to add Sandy. We're going to add her last name as Cheeks. And then her company name is going to be Rise and Bright. Rise and White. I think that's a really cool Rise and White. And then the email is going to be Sandy Cheeks at Rise and Whites. Cool. This is also going to be dentist. Yay. Dentist. And then we're going to come to our new scenario here, and we're just going to run this. Sweet, that's been done. And as we can see here, we have Sandy Cheeks, Rise and White, Sandy Cheeks at Rise and White, dentist as well. So obviously there are other ways if you want to have these two in sync. So if you want to do like, okay, if I update some information here, it's going to update there. We could also do that scenario as well. If you'd like me to do a demo of that as well, we could also definitely dive into how that can be done. But for the rest of this demo, I just want to quickly dive into how we can do this directly on Airtable, which is another way you can do this. So I'm just going to clear out our lead sheet a bit. So we can just basically start again, but with Airtable, right? So here we go, Airtable. I'm also going to delete some of these stuff, delete all those records. And yeah, So we want to start all afresh, but in this case, we want to do it directly on Airtable. So I'm just going to go to automations and I'm just going to have automation one. I don't think we really need to rename it, doesn't matter. And what we want to do is we want to do that thing where we pull the information from the lead sheet and then we put that into Airtable. So as I was saying before, that does take some time. So that is not the most ideal way to do this, but yeah, we could always do it this way. But I think make.com is the fastest way to be able to do this seamlessly as compared to doing it directly here. But it's also good to know that it is possible. So we'll go to Google Sheets and then we go to when row created. And then I'm just gonna add my Google Sheets account. Cool. And then we have worksheet. So I'm just going to select sheet one. You're just gonna make sure all this is correct. Yeah. And then we're just gonna test the step to ensure that it was done correctly. So we're just gonna run use suggested row. Cool. So that ran with no issues. So it's good to test step by step. And then for this, our action that we want would be create record. And then we're just going to choose the table, which is leads. And then the fields, we want all these fields. So we're just going to select all these fields. Last name, company name, email, industry. And I want this to be a custom field because I want it whenever that is dynamically added, it is added by itself. It's not something we want to do manually, right? So for first name, I'm just going to add just basically mapping everything out. Kind of like what we did on make. So it's kind of like the same flow. The only thing is that I prefer to do it with make because make is like way faster. It's like more seamless. And this has some latency, especially when you're bringing something from outside Airtable. If you're taking something from Airtable to the thing, it'd be really fast, just like make. But when you're trying to take it from Airtable into the thing, it is really latent, so slow. Okay, so we have this, and I'm just gonna do run as configured as well. We're just gonna run this test. Okay, I want to turn on the automation tool. Okay, all changes saved. I'm gonna run this test as well. Okay, so test in progress. Cool. So we've created a record, which is Yasin Farhad. I also forgot to explain. So here at my data, okay, first let's just test it out and then I'll explain as it's running. So just gonna add Nina, and I'm going to do Sandy Hill construction. Then my email is going to be Nina at Sandy Hill construction. And the industry is just going to be, I'm just going to copy this down. I'm just going to put construction. Okay, so we're going to leave that to run. And while we do that, I'm just going to explain some things I did. So if you notice here, we have this thing that it appends. So here we have Yasin Farhad. So basically, I wrote a function that just adds it automatically. So we don't have to have the names together. You can just have the first name, the last name. And then here in Airtable at the back end, we just automatically add that together like so. So we're just waiting for this to be added. So I said it does take a minute, which is why make is definitely way more better. So I'll just wait for that to run. Cool. So that ran and it took approximately like 2 minutes to run. So yeah, that is not the best. Well, with make instant. So I like that. But we can see here we have Nina added, Sandy Hill construction, we have the label added, and we also have the time that this happened. So yeah, as you can see, 2 minutes. And we could also do the same thing where it's just like the reverse, where you could also like add, but you have to put some conditions. So if we're doing that, because what happens here on Airtable, if you're trying to do that automatically on Airtable, is if you want to add a name, so let's say I just type Nina. Immediately I just type Nina. It just sent Nina over to leads, but I'm not done entering all the information. So that is a problem when you do it Airtable. So you have to add some more conditions. So if we're to do that, what I would do is I would put a condition that we don't want it to send to leads unless we've imputed the type of industry tag that it is. And also we could do other ones like, okay, if the name field is empty or something like that. That's for any information we can have like preconditionals to make sure that everything here is standard and entered to be put in the lead list. All right, thank you so much for listening to this demo. If there's anything you think I missed out on, anything you thought should have been in the demo that you'd like me to redo, or anything in general, you can always let me know and I will make another demo. Awesome. Thank you so much for listening, and I wish you an awesome rest of your day. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.